Sometimes after a breakup something strange happens. On one side there is sadness, but on the other is a relief. And then another feeling show up. It's a guilt. So why do we feel relief and guilt after a relationship ends? And what does it actually say about the relationship and about us? After a breakup, most people expect one thing: loss, sadness, but often something else happens. A person suddenly alone and feels relief. It becomes easier to breathe and less tension. And then a thought appears in your mind. Why do I feel lighter? What's wrong with me? And a few moments after, a different emotion arrives. Guilt, as if you did something wrong, as you are not supposed to feel relief. And it's a very common experience. That doesn't mean you are cold. It usually points at a deeper dynamic in the relationship. Even good relationship can carry a weight. The tension may come from different expectations, different values, or different plans for the future. Sometimes that tension becomes unconscious. You get used to it, but your mind still carries it. And when the relationship ends, that pressure suddenly disappears. And your nervous system reacts. Oh, finally I can breathe. That relief doesn't necessarily mean you don't love the person. Sometimes it simply means the relationship had been living in an inner conflict for decades. After relief, guilt often arrives. And this is another fascinating psychological concept. Most of us grow up with the idea that if relationship ends, we're supposed to suffer, miss the person, or feel only the loss. So when relief appears, mind questioning itself. Did that make me a bad person? Did I not care enough? But that logic is false. You can simultaneously value someone, feel grateful for the experience, and still know that a relationship is not right for you. These feelings can exist together. In many breakups, there's one deep conflict. The heart and your mind saying different things. The heart says this person mattered, there were real moments, there were real feelings. But the mind says our path is separating, we want different things, this relationship is no longer working. So when the final decision is made, the mind feels relief, but the heart is still grieving. And right at this intersection, guilt appears. There is another reason these feelings show up. If the other person is a good person, it hurts to know that your decision is caused them to hurt. Even if the breakup was the right choice. You may know the relationship wasn't working, but at the same time you're wondering, how are they handling this? What are they feeling? Was I too harsh? That isn't always guilt. Sometimes it's empathy, the ability to feel another person's pain. And that's a very human thing. Many people are afraid to admit that they feel lighter after a breakup, because it seems like it would make them cold and cruel. But often relief simply means the inner conflict ended, the uncertainty ended, the period of doubt ended. When someone long time has lived, staying, leaving, trying again, that creates emotional tension. Once the decision is finally made, you can actually exhale. Some breakups are full of anger, some are full of resentment, but there is another kind. The breakup where both people understand we are not bad people. It's just our lives going to different directions. Those breakups often comes with strange emotions. Not hatred, but a mixture of gratitude, sadness, relief. And yes, sometimes there is a guilt. And that often means that the relationship was clear and real. If you are feeling relief and guilt right now, there are few things that can help you. Allow both feelings to exist. You don't have to choose one. You can feel sadness, relief, gratitude. Human emotions are rarely simple. Don't blame yourself. If relationships ended, it doesn't actually mean that someone was wrong or bad. Sometimes two people are going to different directions in life. Give yourself time. Breakup emotions don't disappear all at once. They come in waves. Today you may feel relief, but tomorrow sadness. A week later, calm. That's not inconsistency, it's healing. There's one truth people rarely talk about. Sometimes staying in a relationship out of pity or fear of hurting someone is actually more honest than leaving. Because then one person is still inside the relationships that already ended in the mind of other person. And that creates even more pain. Sometimes a breakup is not a destruction. Sometimes it's a moment when truth finally admitted. After a breakup, millions of people feel this strange feeling. You wake up in the morning and suddenly realize we used to text each other, we used to plan our date together. There used to be someone next to me. And now there is silence. You walk through the city and places feel different. A cafe reminds you a date, a song reminds you of a drive home. Even an ordinary morning feels unfamiliar. And that's when a question arises. Who am I right now? Because relationships is not just about love. They become the part of your identity. When we spend a long time with someone, something interesting happens psychologically. We begin to form a shared identity. It's no longer just about me and someone else. Instead, it becomes us. We go to these places, we watch these movies, we spend weekends like this. Even our future plans become shared. So when relationship ends, it's not about connection disappears. Part of your structure collapses. Your mind asks, if there is no more us, who am I? That's why feeling like you lost yourself isn't about weakness. It's a completely normal response to identity shift. There is another reason why this happens. Your brain loves familiar patterns. When someone is part of your life for a long time, they become part of your environment. Like your home, like your city, like your daily rhythm. When a relationship ends, it feels almost like moving to another different reality. Everything looks the same, but at the same time, everything feels slightly different. That's why people often feel emptiness, confusion, disorientation. And again, this is completely normal. But there is something people rarely mention. Sometimes when you say I lost myself, it doesn't only mean loss. Sometimes it means that the part of you had been hidden for a long time. In a relationship, we often adjust, adapt and compromise. And that's natural. But sometimes, along the way, we slowly start to disappear. We stop doing what we love, saying what we truly think, going where we want to go. And when the relationship ends, something strange happens. There is pain, but there is also space. Many people say, I feel sad, but lighter. Breakup can be two things at the same time, a loss and a release. You lose a person who was important to you, but you regain time, space and your personal energy. That's why after a breakup, some people suddenly begin new project, traveling, career changes or deep self-discovery. Not because breakups are good, but because they remove the old structure of life. And suddenly there is a space to build a new one. Instead of asking, how do I become a person who I was before, sometimes it's better to ask who I want to become now. Because life isn't about returning to the past, it's about moving forward. And someone who has lived through relationship, challenges, heartbreak and crisis is never the same person, but that's okay. If you are going through breakup right now, here are 3 things that will help you to reconnect with yourself. Rebuild your own life. Start doing things that belong to you. Again, sport, hobbies, work or personal project. When you return to your life, your sense of self slowly returns too. Allow your emotions. Many people try to immediately move on, distract themselves or pretend that everything is fine. But sadness is natural part of healing. You can feel at the same time gratitude, sadness and relief. And that's normal. Don't rush to another relationship. After a breakup, people try to search another relationships. Sometimes it's just to feel the emptiness inside you. But the most valuable period when you get to meet yourself again. Here's a thought that I want to leave you with. Maybe after breakup you didn't lose yourself. Maybe you simply reached a point where your old identity ended and the new one hasn't fully formed yet. It's like standing on a bridge between two shores. The old shore is behind you and the new shore is ahead. And it's often on that bridge the most important discoveries about yourself happens. If you are going through a breakup and you feel like you lost yourself, remember one thing: you are not lost. You simply in a moment when your life rewrites itself. And maybe one day you will realize that in this day, when you started to become a person you were meant to be. Your mind understands that it's over, but your heart still holds on. And why does that happen? And why this is sometimes not about love, but about three psychological mechanisms that keep us stuck in past. Let's talk about it. Me and almost everyone experienced it once in a life. The relationship ends, you are no longer together, but your thoughts keep returning to this person. You remember conversations, moments of closeness and little details. And sometimes you catch yourself thinking, why I can't let them go? You understand that you should move on, but something inside still holds on. And it's important to understand one thing. This isn't always weakness, and it's not always emotional dependence. Sometimes it's simply how humans' mind works. Today we will look at three psychological reasons that make letting go so difficult. When two people spend a lot of time together, an emotional bond forms between them. It's not just love, it's also habits, shared moments, safety and emotional attachment. Your brain literally becomes addicted to feeling that someone is near you. When the bond breaks, your brain experiences it like losing part of your environment. And if something that was part of your reality disappears, that's why people feel the urge to send a message, check their social media or hear the voice again. Not because you are weak, but because your nervous system hasn't adjusted yet. Emotional bonds don't disappear overnight. They take time to fade. After a breakup, your brain playing some strange games. It slowly softens bad moments and strengthens the good ones. You start remembering beautiful moments, smiles, trips or meaningful conversations, but your brain rarely shows you the conflicts or misunderstandings. This is called idealization of the past. Your mind tries to preserve the image of something beautiful and meaningful. As a result, you may start thinking, what if I lost the best person in my life? But there is something important to remember. You are not always missing the real person. You're often missing the kind of person they stays in your memory. And memory not always objective. Sometimes people say, just forget them or find someone new, move on, but your mind doesn't work like that. If a connection was meaningful, it needs time to resolve. And that's normal. The real problem begins when someone stays stuck in memories, stops building a new life and lives only in the past. But if life continues moving forward, letting go happens naturally. There are few things that help people move through this process. Number one is acknowledge your feelings. Sometimes people try to appear strong and say, I don't care anymore. But if sadness is still there, it's better to acknowledge it. Sadness isn't weakness. It's a sign that a relationship mattered. Number two, stop idealizing the past. It can help to remember why the relationships ended. Not to become angry, but to restore a realistic perspective. Number three, start rebuilding your life. It's the most important step. When you begin to return your interest, build new projects, meet new people or move forward, the past slowly loses its emotional power. Not because it disappears, but because your life becomes bigger than the past. Sometimes we are holding on to memories, hope or future that we imagined we will live together. And that's a very human experience. But there's something important to understand. Sometimes someone stays in our heart not because we are meant to be with them, but because they come to our life to teach us a lesson. If you can't let go of someone right now, don't blame yourself. Sometimes it simply means that connection was real. When people imagine breakup, they often think about pain, sadness or loss. But in reality, many people experience the super interesting experience. They may feel sadness, relief, gratitude, emptiness, sometimes even lightness. And that can feel confusing, because we assume emotions should be simple, but the human mind rarely works like that. Sometimes two completely different emotions can exist at the moment. Let's start with the most obvious part. Feeling sad after a breakup is completely normal. When two people spend a long time together, the emotional bond appears. It's not only love, it's also habit, closeness, shared memories, or future plans. Your brain literally adapts to the presence of the other person. When that connection ends, your mind experiences a loss, even if the decision was right, even if the relationship stopped working. The bond was still real, and sadness literally showed that this relationship mattered. Now let's talk about the other side. Why do many people feel relief? Because many relationships carry tension for a long time. Sometimes it's subtle, but it shows up in small things like you're breathing wrong, expectations, or different values. Some people live with this tension for months or even years. They get used to it, but their mind and body still carry it. So when the relationship ended, the tension suddenly disappeared, and your nervous system finally says, "Oh, I finally can breathe." Another important piece of a puzzle is that your mind and heart moves at a different speed. Your mind may understand the relationship wasn't working, your paths were diverging, the breakup was the right decision, but your heart still remembers the close moments, the warmth and happiness. So two processes happen at the same time. The mind feels relief, the heart feels loss. And together they create that strange emotional mix, sadness and relief at the same time. Sometimes a breakup feels like opening a window after a long time. On one side there is the cold air, but on the other side there is the freshness. You may lose the relationship but also regain your time, energy and your personal space. And many people sometimes say interesting things. Life actually feels lighter now. And that doesn't mean the relationship was bad. It simply means that they were not right. There is another psychological mechanism that appears after a breakup. Your memory starts highlighting the good moments. You remember laughter, trips, hugs, but your brain rarely shows the conflicts, the tension, the reasons why relationship ended. It calls the idealizing the past, and it strengthens the sadness, while the relief reminds you of the other side of reality. In many relationships, people may stuck in two different things: stay or leave. The inner conflict can last for months, and it creates huge emotional pressure. When the final decision made, the brain finally feels now everything is clear, and that clarity brings relief. There is one idea that helps to interpret this emotional paradox. You can simultaneously value someone, feel grateful for the experience, and miss certain moments, and still know that the relationship ends for the right reason. These emotions are not contradictions. They simply reflect the complexity of real life. If you are going through this emotional mix right now, there are a few things that can actually help you. Don't try to choose one emotion. You can feel sadness, relief, gratitude or guilt at the same time, and that's normal. Give yourself time. Your mind simply needs time to adjust. Today may feel heavy, next week might feel lighter. In a month, the memories can feel calmer. That's part of a healing. Start building your life again. When someone begins to return to their interests, focus on work or project, create new plans, their life slowly expands again, and the relationships becomes one chapter from the story, not the whole book. If you feel relief and sadness at the same time after a breakup, that's not strange. It simply means that truth existed at the same time. The connection was real, but its time has ended. And sometimes the moments like this become a moment of a new chapter in life, when a person starts understanding a life more clearly, who they are or what they value. And if this video resonated, drop a comment, subscribe and press like. So let's grow together. Have a good flight, fam.